Welcome to Let's Talk, May 15th, 2018. So today's topic is going to be a discussion about a popular acronym. I want to first read here what is the definition of an acronym?
Acronym.
Acronym.
Yeah.
Not an acronym, acronym.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, right. Acronym. A-C-R-O-N-Y-M. This stands for Abbreviated Coded Rendition of Name Yielding Meaning. Okay, I'll read that again. Abbreviated Coded Rendition of Name Yielding Meaning. So there are lots of acronyms in the world, and the Vaishnava world not to be excluded. So today, the acronym that I want to discuss, it's actually a pet peeve of mine. You know what that means? It means something I really can't stand. It really irritates me every time I see it, every time I hear it. And it's been around for a long time in the Vaishnava world, particularly in the Hare Krishna world. The what?
The what?
Getting an echo. We'll see how this turns out. Okay, anyway, we'll just go ahead with this and see how it works out. This technology is driving me crazy too. Okay, the acronym is for the double expression, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Now, I think that's a very nice thing. Please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. This has been around for a long time, and I can remember having written and still do write letters to that effect. But somehow or another, at some point, and we did do a little research on this, and it seemed to go back to, what was his name, Hanuman Preksha?
Mm-hmm.
The research we did, although it's not final, it goes back to Hanuman Preksha, who invented this acronym known as PAMHO AGTSP. I can't, it really twists my ear every time I hear that. PAMHO, please accept my humble obeisances. AGTSP, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Is that particular Swami, is he still active in the Hare Krishna movement?
Yeah, he's part of the BI, I believe, yeah.
Yes, okay. I have met him before many, many years ago. I don't know what year that was when that came into vogue, I guess you would say, PAMHO AGTSP.
Early 90s, I should imagine.
Really, early 90s. And now there's even an internet group called PAMHO.net.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so this might seem to many people like a very trivial thing, but I don't know. I think it's worth a discussion, and the purpose is, personally, I would like to dissuade devotees from using this based on more on feeling and sentiment. This has nothing to do with Shastra. There are no hard and fast rules written about how you write a letter and all these things, although we do have a nice quote here from Srila Bhakti-siddhanta suggesting or indicating how one should begin spiritual correspondence or how one should not begin spiritual correspondence. Isn't that correct, Gary? I think you have that quote ready for when we need to read that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. Like I said, there are no hard and fast rules, although we'll have a reference to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. It's more or less just based on sentiment. So in the time of Srila Prabhupada, there were many things. And Some of those things were destined to change, one might say, due to progress. However, there have been many changes that one could validly say are completely unnecessary, and they are neither they're not changes for the better. We'll get to that eventually. The changing of the books, that's a big topic, so we're holding that one for a while. But now we're talking about something very small. Changing, reducing, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Changing that to an acronym, which is spelled PAMHO, all caps, space AGTSP. And along with this acronym is another acronym which really, really irritates me, and that's SP. I was having a discourse with a godbrother about 15 years ago in Gujarat, who stays in Ahmedabad, Gujarat, in India. And we were debating, arguing, disagreeing. And at a point in his letter to me, he said, SP said, and he went on with whatever he was saying. And I looked at that and I thought, SP, who the heck is SP? Because back in the day, I was JG Swami for Jagat Guru. Tomorrow Krishna Goswami was TKG. JP Swami, Jayapataka Swami. We all had these initials. It seemed like everybody's name got reduced to some initials. So I was thinking, who in the heck is SP? Who is that? And so I asked a devotee who was with me at the time, who had recently come from ISKCON, and not only from ISKCON, he had come from Gujarat, and he said, "Oh, SP, that means Srila Prabhupada." I almost fell out of my chair. I said, "You got to be kidding me! You got to be kidding me! We can't even take the pain anymore to type out Srila Prabhupada's name. We have to SP. We have to reduce His divine grace to an acronym." It really got under my skin, and I've never forgot it even to this day. So I'm especially irritated by these two things, and the purpose of this Krishna talk is to bring this out and try to dissuade the use of such acronym. And there's a spiritual reason why. Because it is standard information, and it is said by Srila Prabhupada also, that by speaking the names, chanting the name of the spiritual master and the spiritual masters before our spiritual master, that one is purified. But I just don't know how much purification comes by typing SP. But if one writes Srila Prabhupada or types Srila Prabhupada, then there is some purification, however small it may be. It's there. And of course, along with this, there's, let me see, BVT, Bhaktivinoda Thakura, there's SSM, Srila Sridhara Maharaja, all these things.
KC.
Huh? Oh, yes. Krishna consciousness, the KC movement. I think it's that one. Well, the first time I read that, I thought, what the hell is that? Kentucky Fried Chicken or something like that? Oh, they mean Krishna consciousness. Wow. So anyway, I'm sure many people will look at this as, well, this is ridiculous. This is splitting hairs. And it's like, yeah, we're splitting hairs here and trying to keep things a little bit more on track. So changing, please set my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, into this PAMHO Agatspa. It's a small kind of a change. Now, we have a quote here. Giri Maharaj, I'm going to ask you to read that, or two different quotes, or whatever it is here. I believe from the memoirs of Hari Sari Prabhu. Or no, that's Goswami. You're going to read that. I think there's a couple there. And it's about change, but I think His Divine Grace has other bigger things in mind. But little things are also important. So, Goswami, would you kindly read that for us? I think you have two. You researched up a couple quotes there. Mm-hmm. Okay. So please
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead and take the mic.
First, a small disclaimer. As a former, I have to confess, as a former acronym user, since Reformed, I apologize to anyone I ever used those for. And if I ever use them again, please call me out on it.
We're all guilty of such sins.
Okay, here we go. Here's a quote from the memoirs of Hari Sari Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's secretary at the time. Jai Satyananda quoted Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakura, as well as Srila Prabhupada, that if a brahmachari hears and is attracted to a woman singing, it is a subtle fall down. In light of this, he wrote, many of the brahmacharis approached the temple president to see if it would be possible that when the deities are greeted in the morning, that instead of listening to Guru Das Maharaja's former wife, the famous Yamuna Devi Dasi, singing the Brahma Samhita prayers, we could listen to your divine grace rather than hear a woman sing. He did not want to change the tape because it had been a standard thing in ISKCON since 1970. So requested by many devotees, I am inquiring from your divine grace if we could play a tape recording of you singing instead of a woman when the deities of Rukmini Dwarkadish are greeted in the morning. I am sure that all the devotees would be enlivened to hear you instead of electric guitars, the London Symphony Orchestra, etc., etc. Srila Prabhupada was not pleased. He said that constantly changing things is, quote, our Western disease.
Our Western disease.
His reply was short and direct. No, you have made some discovery. All along you have been hearing the recording of Yamuna Dasi, and now you want to change it. It is not an ordinary singing. It is a concert. Many people are singing, so it is not bad. Just like Sankirtan, many voices are there, men and women. So it is the same thing. Sankirtan, I approve of it. Here in Krishna Balaram Temple, we are hearing the same recording every morning. So it is, if it is good here, why not there? Again, a similar quote from Hari Sari Prabhu when a devotee requested to make some changes to Prabhupada's garden in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada shook his head with a frown. Quote, you Americans, you ruin everything. When one of you comes, you change everything the other one did. You go away. Another one of you comes. You change everything the other one did. And then he goes away. And another one comes. Changes everything he did. End quote. Hari Sari writes, it was a theme His Divine Grace has taken issue with many times with his Western disciples, what Srila Prabhupada calls our disease of change. He emphatically told that devotee, quote, don't change it, save it.
Don't change it, save it. So I would say at this point, someone would say, well, what are you trying to say? I'm trying to say, well, let's save the dignity. I do not think it's very dignified to reduce Srila Prabhupada's name to SP. Or, of course, His Divine Grace has the choice of writing his name with his initials, of course, AC, Bhaktivedanta. When you write AC or initials in a name, that is not the same thing. That's called initials. That's different. Acronyms are something different than just giving your initials. And even at that, just to write AC, B, V, AC Bhaktivedanta, S, A, B, and they say AC, BVS, AC Bhaktivedanta Swami, and then throw a P on the end of that. This is not very, very dignified. So I guess I'm gonna read here a couple things I just looked up here, or had Giri Maharaj look up for me, and I thought, well, let's take a look around at other spiritual traditions. for example, I thought, well, let's take a look at the Pope. He's probably the biggest single known spiritual leader out there in the world today. There are many from different traditions, but I just thought, well, the Pope's been around for a long time. Let's see how he begins letters to fellow members of the church, cardinals and or lay members or people from the public. Let's see how he does. And the first thing we discovered is, well, he has no okay, this is how you begin every letter in such and such a way. So he found that there was no standardized way that he begins letters to basically anyone. But we did find repeatedly the expression, "May the peace of Jesus Christ be with you." And we saw in a number of places when referring to Jesus Christ, the Pope writes, our Lord Jesus Christ. So, can you imagine the Pope writing, I can't even say it, it wouldn't even be it, MTPOJCBWY as an abbreviation, acronym for "May the peace of Jesus Christ be with you"? I don't think so. Or just referring to our Lord Jesus Christ, OLJC. And by the way, OLJC says in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, Or can you imagine the Pope writing, "Yes, the life of JC has been inspiring to us all." Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Let me put it this way. Even amongst pedophiles, they wouldn't reduce the name of Jesus Christ to JC, okay? Even amongst pedophiles, or even amongst mafia, criminals, demoniac living beings, they would not reduce the name of their Lord to simply JC. Or I can imagine the Dalai Lama, we were looking up, but he didn't have any kind of particular thing, because I don't even know if I don't think they even have such a thing as blessings, but he didn't reduce it to the Bood.
Or the big B.
The big B. Yeah, we do the meditations like the big B taught us, Or the big B gave his first sermon in Sarnath in Bihar, the big B, yeah, the big Buddha. But Srila Prabhupada's name is reduced to SP all the time. Not in conversation. I think at least there devotees will have the dignity to speak his name, Srila Prabhupada, or at least Prabhupada. They don't say SP when talking, but when writing, it's quite frequent, you see. So, it has been explained, an original source I cannot give you right now, but writing is a deeper meditation than chanting. It takes more concentration. So one might interpolate after that statement that writing is also a deeper form of purification. Well, that could be argued, but it is a deep form of meditation. One has to concentrate about what one is writing, where when one is chanting, the mind may wander. Correct? Am I correct on that?
Yeah.
So again, for purification, meditation meaning purification, for purification, to write the name of the name of Srila Prabhupada is a demonstration of one's, I think, sincerity. And the SP, I think it's it's like a Freudian. It's a subtle slip, demonstrating a lack of sincerity and earnestness. So there's another one, I'm not going to get into it, and it was turned into a song, and that's Vanchakalpatarubhyu 2. You remember that one? Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhyevacha, the obeisances that devotees offer to each other. I've heard many times devotees meet and go, Vancha Kalpa Tarubiyu too.
Or just Vanchas Prabhu.
Vancha, oh yes, don't forget Vanchas Prabhu, Vanchas. At the same time, maintain the ego that Srila Prabhupada is the greatest, that he's the Senapati, the Yuga Dharma Acharya, and all these things. Let's give them credit. All these things are absolutely true. And then with folded hands request, please stop reducing that great personality to SP. And stop using this acronym of PAMHO Agatspa to be the humble devotional exchange between, or greeting between one Vaishnava and another, and especially the Agatspa. Agatspa. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. You know what? If you don't have time to type it, don't even bother typing it. Just get on with what you want to say. But reducing these things to these short terms, this is actually reducing the standard of dignity that should be upheld by Vaishnavas. So, Giri, you have a quote, I think. It's nothing, it's not bombastic, it's not going to rewrite the history, but it is a quote from Bhakti-siddhanta to one of his disciples, and it is in regard to etiquette, some proper etiquette. So I think that's what we're talking about here, is proper etiquette, and the Western mentality, which is to change everything, reduce everything to its minimal form, to make so many unnecessary changes and all these things. We got to keep a handle on it. All right, Giri, please go ahead and read that.
Yeah, this is a letter from Srila Bhakti-siddhanta to a disciple. It's dated October the 21st, 1929. So, Saraswati Thakur writes, according to proper etiquette, in day-to-day business, one should normally start a letter by saying, all glories to, or by offering obeisances at the top of the letter. It is not proper to write the Maha Mantra at the top of a letter as a form of address. By doing so, the writer may feel proud of being an instructor of the Maha Mantra. The mundane Sahajas pay respect to the Vaishnavas as servitor gods by using the words Radhe Radhe. Poets are often seen to write various imaginary rhymes.
Wow. Read that again. That's quite subtle. Listen up close and read that again, please.
According to proper etiquette, in day-to-day business, one should normally start a letter by saying all glories to, or by offering obeisances at the top of the letter. It is not proper to write the Maha Mantra at the top of the letter as a form of address.
Let me interrupt right there. I've seen many times on Gaudiya Math letterheads, and I can't remember right now. I forgot to check. But at the top of the letterhead, it is often written Shri Guru Gauranga Jayate, or Jayata. Yeah. And in English, all glories to Shri Shri Guru Gauranga. That'd be like at the top of the letterhead, the main thing. Or sometimes there's the name of the institution, then it says Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Jayata. And then the letter begins, and there's usually offering obeisances. But I've also seen him and been guilty of the fact to write somebody and say, "Dear somebody, Hare Krishna," and start with just saying Hare Krishna. And of course, we think that's good preaching, spreading the holy name and everything. And certainly, we're not totally wrong in that thinking. However, there is some proper etiquette in dealing with the holy name. And Saraswati Thakur is saying here, just to put it at the top of a letterhead and to begin the letter, let's say, with the Maha Mantra is not proper Vaishnava etiquette. It puts oneself in some superior position. Am I understanding that correctly? Okay, just back up one sentence and continue to read it again, please.
It is not proper to write the Maha Mantra at the top of the letter as a form of address. By doing so, the writer may feel proud of being an instructor of the Maha Mantra. The mundane sadhus pay respect to the Vaishnavas as servitor gods by using the words Radhe Radhe. Poets are often seen to write various imaginary rhymes.
Yes, this brings to mind two things. One, the common use of Radhe Radhe today amongst Vaishnavas. It's shocking. And you will not find anywhere in the historical record of our parampara, particularly in the modern time, which we can reference with absolute clarity and certainty, Bhaktivinoda Thakura, Srila Bhakti-siddhanta, and his disciples, our Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, our Shiksha Gurus, Srila Sridhara Maharaj, Srila Puri Maharaj, and their circle of friends. It doesn't happen, Radhe Radhe. Where you first find this is among the rickshaw-wallas in Vrindavan. And they use the name of Radharani instead of a horn. Instead of saying, out of my way, get out of my way, they shout Radhe Radhe. And of course this is all like, oh, it's Vrindavan, it's so wonderful. And everybody says Radhe Radhe. Great. Show us the acharyas who did that. People call the 6 Goswamis. They're the prayer by Narottam. They're wandering in the forest, Radhe Radhe. Well, you come up to the other standard of the 6 Goswamis, and then we'll maybe overlook that. But let's look in the contemporary times at our acharyas, and you don't find them writing Radhe Radhe. They're not chanting Radhe Radhe. And I know many of my friends in Vrindavan. It's just the power of its compulsion. It goes on to such an extent that it just, one finds oneself saying like that. Of course, in Vrindavan, people go, people give me a high five, Radhe Radhe, and I'll go Govinda, Govinda, and I'll respond with Govinda or Radhe Shyam. But simply taking Radharani's name solo, alone, well, this has not been shown by any of our acharyas, and it's especially inappropriate as a greeting on the street or a rickshaw-walla telling another rickshaw-walla to get out of my way. Radharani's name or even Krishna's name in that way may not be so appropriate. But then we'll remember, Gundicha. We're passing a bucket, passing a broom, doing this, doing that. Everyone would say, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And that became their mode of communication. Yes, that's fine. Hare Krishna. But the name of Srimati Radharani is more sacred than just that. And we do not use, and you cannot show in Shastra, or you cannot show in our histories where the name of Radharani is used as a communication signal.
Considering that Shukadeva Goswami kept it so secret in the Bhagavatam, that tells you how sacred the name of Radharani actually is.
And we heard from Srila Sridhara Maharaj, and here we are showing our real colors because we are repeating her name in this discourse. But we have heard from Srila Sridhara Maharaj that when taken the holy name of Srimati, Srila Bhakti-siddhanta, who never did do that in public, once when being forced to discuss and defend the dignity of Srimati Radharani, he took the name of Radharani, and while discussing her super excellent qualities in defense of her, then he fainted and fell out of the chair. And such was his devotion to Srimati Radharani. And I saw personally, and I think many of us have seen, that when in the course of any discourse, if it came to the point of Srimati Radharani's name to be spoken, Srila Sridhara Maharaj would fold his hands and bow his head before the utterance of the name of Srimati Radharani. So going back to reducing everything to initials, Goswami, what's that joke you made about How, because people chant japa on clickers, that's a convenience. So what's another way you figured out that you could chant japa? H K H K K K H H H R R R I H H H K H K K K H H H R R R. Don't be surprised. Do not be surprised in future if it doesn't come to that, because that just seems to be part of the Western disease. One, to be very cavaliering when dealing with the highest and most sacred things. I saw once in Mayapur, back in the 90s, there was this market at Gaur Purnima set up inside the Chandradoya Mandir complex on the grounds. There was some market. People were selling various things, arctic paraphernalia and devotional paraphernalia. And two things stood out. The first one was the T-shirts with some amazing pictures of Krishna and Radha and Krishna on the cover, not on the cover, on the T-shirts. And these were selling like crazy, you know, like hot chapatis or something at Kumbh Mela. And we were in Srila Puri Maharaj's room, Bhaktivinoda Puri Maharaj's room during that time, and at his temple, Gopinath Gaudiya Mutt. And at that time, some devotees came in for darshan, and one of them was wearing a beautiful, printed, colorful, just beautiful, printed Jagannath. Just the whole face of Jagannath was on the front part of this T-shirt. And when Srila Puri Maharaj saw that T-shirt, he bowed his head, folded his hands, and began to utter prayers in praise of Lord Jagannath. So I remember when Srila Prabhupada had commented, so we can look this up, it's a Prabhupada said, that these pictures were windows to the spiritual world. So that's all fine and dandy. And one is wearing a T-shirt with Jagannath or Krishna. But oftentimes it's like, oh, don't I look good in this T-shirt? Now we're taking the form of the Lord and we're wearing it as a decoration, you know, to enhance our personal beauty or our charm or just to be cool. But the bigger question comes, what happens after you've worn that shirt for a day in Mayapur or wherever you are in the world, and you've given it a good sweat and your armpits stink and the shirt begins to smell with a little BO? What happens next? Well, I know what happens next. It goes in the washing machine with your dirty socks and your kids' underwear. It goes through a 3-cycle hot, cold, soap, rinse, wash, and then a multi-spin. And if you don't have a dryer, then you just hang it out like it was a raccoon skin, and you just hang it on the clothesline along with the sheets, pillowcases, tennis shoes, and everything else to bake in the sun while you sit in the air-conditioned room and sip Nimbu Pani. So look at the whole process. Beautiful painting of Krishna. Then where does it go? I wear it. In question. For what? Why do you wear it? Are you preaching? You know? Are you decorating yourself in this way? And then, okay, that's cool. Where does it go after that? Do you hand wash it with such care? And even then, how do you wring it out? Twist the picture of Krishna? So that picture, which is absolute, which is a window to the spiritual world, then gets grossly misused. So who started all this? Isn't Acharya to be found who the one who started all this? And the answer is no. That one started by the shopkeepers in Lowy Bazaar, just to make money. I'll tell you a short story. One day, this devotee, a Srila Prabhupada disciple, and I were going down the street on a rickshaw in Vrindavan, and we passed down by the clock tower, by the Gajendra clock tower, you know, the intersection there. There was a pharmacy. And the pharmacy said, what was the name of it? It wasn't Abdul. It wasn't a Muslim guy. It was Doyal or something was his name, a typical name in Vrindavan. And it had a big picture of Srila Prabhupada, like a big one, like a big poster-sized picture. And it was on a triangle easel set outside the center. It says, such and such farmer, I forget, let's assume Abdul, right? And we saw that, and we stopped the rickshaw, and we got off, and we went in and told the man and said, look, his name is not Abdul. But it wasn't Abdul, it was some other name. It was a Hindu name. I said, that is not his name. And this is not his pharmacy. And we do not appreciate you using the picture of our guru just to attract people into your pharmacy, okay? When the Angresis are sick, they'll come here, whether, it doesn't matter whose picture you have out there, And this is common in Vrindavan to put Prabhupada's picture in a shop to, try to attract some money, some customers, show their great devotion to his divine grace. So we asked him, you please remove this. So the next day we came by and nothing. It was standing out there in the street as normal. So I was there alone that day. I got off the rickshaw and I walked in. I said, well, yesterday we told you, so today I'm warning you. I come back here tomorrow and I see that picture here. I'm bringing 50 sadhus with me. We're going to burn your pharmacy near the ground. Now get my guru's picture off the street. Got it? And yes, Swami. Yes, Swami. So the guy removes it, So who started this T-shirt thing? All this stuff. It wasn't
bead bags as well.
Huh?
Bead bags also. These really beautiful
everything. Beautiful artwork. Hands down. Amazing pictures. Most of that. Especially a few years ago, the Russians. Some really talented devotees in Russia doing beautiful, beautiful paintings of His Divine Grace. And then these ended up on T-shirts and bead bags, and everybody just thinks that's so nice. Give your kid a Jagannath bead bag. Well, where does that picture of Jagannath go when your kid's bead bag is all dirty and funky? And even before that, we're always setting down our bead bags, right? You set your down on a table or somewhere. You set your bead down on the dashboard. And what, you're so proper to set it up to make sure the picture is facing proper? No, it just wrinkles, wrap it up, stick it in your pocket and everything. So this is not how to deal with photos of the absolute truth, of the spiritual master, of Krishna. And that year that I saw the T-shirts, of course I'd seen them before, but that's the first year in Mayapur I saw the Russian art on T-shirts. And there was this one devotee there, and he was selling these fold-up things. They fold up quite small, about 12 inches in diameter, and you take them out of the thing, and you undo it, and there's a wire inside, and they're nylon, and it pops up, and it's one of these things that you stick in your window in the front window of your car to keep the sun from baking your dashboard. I mean, we have them all over the world, in India, here in Mexico, everywhere. I mean, they're everywhere to protect your dashboard. Well, the uniqueness of these was there was two pictures of Srila Prabhupada on this sun protector. So that when you put that in the front windshield of your car, his two big pictures of His Divine Grace were looking out your window. I guess the idea was when people walk by the car, they'll see a picture of Prabhupada, right? Meanwhile, His Divine Grace sitting out there baking in the sun when it's 100 degrees, and you're off shopping with your wife in the mall, in the air-conditioned mall, sitting down and having a smoothie or something. And while you're in the mall, Prabhupada's out there protecting your dashboard, in the magnified sun inside your front window.
Not only that, they're also taking service from Srila Prabhupada. That's bad enough, but they're also taking service.
That's another way to look at it. Oh, Srila Prabhupada, hold this and protect my car from getting hot while I'm in the air-conditioned mall, So what is all this? This is insensitivity and being just unaware, Once, the divinity and recognizing, if people see or come in contact with the divine form of Srila Prabhupada or Krishna, they'll make advancement. That's true. But then what else is attached to that methodology or that method of doing that? Is that really proper? And the answer is no, it isn't really proper. It would borderline offenses if there was such a thing. It's the offense of abuse of paraphernalia, which is non-different than the Lord. So whether it's pictures we're talking about and how they are taken, like once in Vrindavan in the restaurant, somebody put a picture of Krishna over the sink where people wash their mouth and spit. And at that time, one of the leading devotees from Europe, I believe it was Bhagavan Das, who was a GBC in charge of Europe, France, I believe at the time. And he came there, and when he went to wash his mouth, he saw that picture, and he called the manager of the restaurant. He rather rudely told him, he said, please take this picture down, and you can put your own picture up there if you want. But I don't want to spit in front of Srila Prabhupada. And once while visiting the home of some devotees from Hawaii that belong to that group which considers Lord Brahma to have become Lord Jesus, had to use the restroom, the men's room, while we were in their home, and going into the bathroom, there was a picture of Radha and Krishna hanging on the wall above the toilet. So how far this misunderstanding of how to treat spiritual paraphernalia, whether it's the writing of the name of the spiritual master or Krishna, or how to write proper obeisances, how to begin a letter, where you cannot put the Maha Mantra, all these subtle things are completely being overlooked as if, it doesn't matter, there's no issue. No, there is an issue. There is an issue, and you will never find that the pure devotees of the Supreme Lord are doing these things. They're not riding rickshaws, giving high fives, Radhe, Radhe. They're not reducing the name of their spiritual master to 2 or 3 initials. When greeting each other, they're not, I don't have time to say, please accept my humble obeisances, so I say, PAMHO, Agatspa, we got you, and whatever. No, where does this stuff come from? This comes from the lowest realm of the Hindus, the shopkeepers, and the most neophyte devotees.
You see the way that Srila Prabhupada wrote to his own godbrothers. He was extremely respectful.
Yes, do you have an example of that there?
Yeah, I do. He wrote to a number of godbrothers like Madhav Maharaj, Vaibhav Maharaj, and so on.
Yes.
And he always began his letters by saying, please accept my respectful obeisances at your lotus feet, or please accept my dandavats at your lotus feet.
Yes.
Even he wrote to the Pope back in 1968, and the way that he addressed the Pope was, Your Holiness, please accept my respectful, humble obeisances at your lotus feet. The Pope.
And you know this thing where we sign letters, your servant?
YS, yeah.
That's another thing.
Yeah.
All this hoo-ha, and then YS. Can you imagine? I'm writing a letter to Srila Prabhupada, and I'm going to sign it YS? Oh, if you're the servant and you're writing your master, I don't think you'll write YS. So you're writing a godbrother or godsister, and you sign off YS. Well, that's quite insincere. That means you're not really serious about this, because you would never write your master. If you're the servant, the person you're addressing is your master. I mean, it is so much the proper etiquette. Once I was reviewing a documentary film about dueling, fighting to the death for honor, because, I mean, honor is an important thing in Vedic culture, and it's mentioned in Bhagavad Gita that dishonor is worse than death for those who have been honored. So there was a tradition for centuries around the world of honor, of dueling, sword fighting, gun fight, all kind of wrestling, fighting, just fighting to defend one's honor. And in this documentary, there was this was going on in Europe, and I think it was in the Netherlands, and there was an exchange between the two people who were having an argument, and one was challenging the other to a duel, and it's a duel to the death, in a defense of honor, and there was a way of doing it in those days. You would submit a letter of challenge So he challenges his opponent to a duel to the death and signs it, "Your obedient servant." So even when it matters of let us duel and fight to the death amongst cultured people, he didn't just sign off YS. So he's intending to kill that guy, but still he's writing, "Your obedient servant," So what to speak of when you're really addressing a Vaishnava or your spiritual master? Of course, you would never do that. But then why you should do that when addressing your fellow God brothers and God sisters? YS, PAMHO, GTSP, SP, all these things. And I've never seen that done in India by followers of any other God brother of Prabhupada, like disciples of Srila Puri Maharaj or Srila Sridhara Maharaj. But I have noticed in the Western section, who also follows Gaudiya Mat Acharyas, like Srila Puri Maharaj, like Srila Sridhara Maharaj, like Srila Keshav Maharaj, and other, I have seen in their letters, they reduce sometimes Srila Sridhara Maharaj to SSM, and so forth. Not the Bengali section, not the Indian section, not the cultural section, but the newbies, the joiners, the Westerners, and we don't come to the table with any culture worth bringing. And we are the ones who are responsible for all these little insignificant changes, which I'm saying actually have significant meaning. These are not good changes. This is not bode well for a bright, cultured future. And of course, when we get around to the changes of the books, that's the pinnacle of the disease of we're never satisfied with anything. Change, change, change.
I was just thinking about this word Prabhu, how it's become so watered down now as well. Devotees will argue and say all sorts of words like, get lost, Prabhu, or even they'll talk to rich. Hey, Prabhu,
that's kind of like, I challenge you to a death duel, your obedient servant. It's kind of like in that,
Well, they didn't say rickshaw-wallahs, Prabhu, Prabhu, can you take me to so-and-so?
They don't?
It's become such a... No, they do.
They do.
It's become such a watered-down thing now. Prabhu just means dude.
Yes. It's more used like that. And, of course, the lady section, the lady Vaishnavas in some places of the world clamor, don't call me Mataji. That's another topic we want to discuss. Call me Prabhu. It's like, sure, Prabhu, no problem, but why would you want to be... Why do you insist on being called master?
Mm-hmm.
It should be, or if you don't like Mataji, it should be, call me Dasi. Call me servant. Why call me master? That's not Vaishnava in any way which you look at it, you see.
Right.
Okay, but neither is being called Mataji is not anti-Vaishnava. But one might say, please call me Dasi. Please call me servant. Your servant. Yes, okay, can be, you see. Although we address our, anyway. That's another topic for another day. And there are many of these little things. But all these little things that, Narasingha Maharaj is picking at straws, just splitting hairs, Yes, they're splitting hairs. These are small things. But all these small things are symptomatic of the mentality behind the use and behind the creation and the abuse of these things. And just for information, nobody in our mission uses these SPs and PAMHOs. We don't allow devotees to wear T-shirts and garments with pictures of Krishna and Radha and Krishna or Prabhupada or bead bags or any of those things. And when devotees come from outside, sometimes they come with these things, and we ask them, you can pack those things away. And if you're going to stay, hey, you might cut that picture of Krishna and Radha and Krishna or Jagannath off that T-shirt, put it behind a nice frame, and wow, that's a beautiful picture. We'll put that in the temple room, or we'll put that in the prasadam hall, or we might even put that on a home altar. But on your backside or on your, shirt and in the washing machine, this is actually, not only is it improper, it's painful, actually. It's painful to see. All right. So I was going to say it as a joke, as a sign-off, but I'm not going to do that. All right. Anything else to add to today's talk on...
I was thinking, Maharaj, when this all first started more than a decade ago, I guess in the age of computers, computers weren't so advanced then, and a lot of devotees don't know how to type, and that kind of laziness probably, brought it on. But nowadays, the computers are so advanced with this autocorrect. You basically type in 2 initials and, the things you normally type, all the choices come up, It doesn't even take that long. Like when I address devotees, with your name, I type in 2 letters and your name comes up and I just hit it, So, it's, the excuse is beyond pale. Because the technology itself solves a lot of it,
Yes, you can set your computer at the end for what they call signatures instead, depending on what programs you have. But you say anything you want. You're obedient servant. You can have choices of 3. So even if that's your, I got to write a lot of letters, you can pre-program these things, and it spells it out there properly.
And I can say, as a reformed acronym devotee, and living with Narasingha Maharaj, he makes you very conscious of these things. And that's the whole point. It makes you conscious. You're Krishna conscious. You're typing, don't use the acronym, spell out the name. Who is it? It makes you conscious. Pictures, all these things, placed appropriately, et cetera, et cetera. And it is important. It isn't some small detail. To not do it actually shows, as Gurumar says, it's an embarrassment.
Yeah.
Especially for older devotees. My goodness. Yeah.
I had a question, Guru Maharaj, that's been asked based on what we've been talking about tonight, etiquette. Sometimes it's said you shouldn't address senior devotees with the words Hari Bol, because you're basically telling them, chant Hari. You're instructing them to chant. Is that correct? Would you say that's correct?
What do you mean? Address them? What do you mean? In a letter or in talking?
Just sees the Guru. Oh, Guru Maharaj, Hari Bol.
Yes.
You instruct your Guru to chant like Bhakti-siddhanta, saying, don't instruct the Vaishnavas in chant. Would that be correct?
Yes, but for this broadcast, let's just settle with trying to get people to stop using these other acronyms. But that's a fact. That's a fact. One will go to his guru and say, Jai Prabhupada, Hari Bol, translation. Glories to you, Prabhupada. Chant the holy name.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. So, yeah. Yes, okay. Well, I don't know how much of this Vaishnava culture devotees will be able to adjust to, but for right now, let's just point this out, that the Pope isn't going to say JC, and we're not going to say SP, or KC, the KC movement. Every time I hear the KC movement, I think of Kentucky Fried. I don't know why.
HK, I hear HK. Is that Hong Kong?
Hong Kong. Yeah, HK, yeah, Hong Kong. All right, so this is wrap it up for today. Is that good?
Yeah.
We are completed. Okay, thank you all for watching, and tune in to our next Let's Talk in a few days. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.